A few weeks ago, I was interviewed by my friend Joel Sedecase over at the Think Institute, and the topic of the interview was science and faith. Now, I thought it would be a great opportunity to take some isolated clips from that interview and repost them over here at Catalyzing Faith for the purposes of just quick references to some important commentary on some very common questions, challenges, concerns regarding the issue of science and faith. And one of the biggest concerns that we run into as Christians is this notion that science and faith are, for some reason, in conflict with one another. And what I do in this clip is respond to that sort of notion and give my thoughts on really where that comes from and why it impacts so many people.
So when we're talking about the relationship between science and Christian faith, why do so many people say that there is a conflict between those two realms?
I think it has to do with the popular media, right? If you watch shows, who do you think talks, or if you think about people talking about science and faith, Neil deGrasse Tyson is probably going to be the number one person that comes to mind, just because he's one of the most famous physicists and he's asked about that all the time. And if you watched his Cosmos series, there was a lot of overlap where they sort of incorrectly addressed the interaction between science and the church throughout history. So those types of popular presentations, I think, are what has convinced a lot of the population that there's this conflict. I'll also add that there are a lot of weird things that we kind of grow up believing because it's just kind of assumed in our classes that simply not true. For example, I give a talk that it's called Truths and Lies about Science and Faith. And one of the biggest ones that I talk about is the flat earth myth, the fact that really nobody in the history of Western thought ever really thought the earth was flat, yet everyone believes that it was this sort of big thing, that everyone thought the earth was flat and that this was something perpetuated by the church. And it's these sort of ridiculous notions that we kind of accept, and they made their way into textbooks at the beginning of the 20th century. And sort of now I think some people are starting to it's starting to come to light that those are not actually accurate, but those sorts of things just kind of pop out everywhere. I hope that brief answer helped at least pique your curiosity about this concept of science and faith being in conflict. But if you're interested in digging deeper, I want you to do a couple of things. First, that talk that I mentioned in the clip, Truths and Lies about Science and Faith, is posted here at the Catalyzing Faith channel, and I've included a link in the description below. Second, if you want to watch more of the context surrounding this sort of question, the link to the full interview at the Think Institute is also included in the description below. So be sure to click on the link to watch the full interview at the Think Institute. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to the Think Institute in addition to subscribing here at Catalyzing Faith.